Okay, assuming you work your way down through all of the other questions, you have co-sponsored a balanced budget amendment. What have you done to get that bill on the floor? And why do you think the Senate would go along with the House, assuming it passes? 30 states have already petitioned the Congress for a balanced budget amendment. 32 states are needed to force Congress to act. Michigan is not one of those states, along with Wisconsin and Ohio and Indiana. What are you proposing to do to get Michigan and perhaps one other state, like Eric Cantor's state, to force Congress to move on a balanced budget amendment?
Yep. All right. Well, we've got a lot. We got a lot on our plate again today. And like I said, as long as we have people that keep coming back, we'll keep doing this. And this is encouraging. We've got a good-sized crowd. I want to talk through a couple of things that have happened in this past week. We had two pretty monumental meetings. First, last Wednesday was a meeting with President Obama and the Republican caucus. He had met with the Senate Democrats, and of course that then, the hue and cry rose up. He had to meet with the Senate Republicans, and then of course us in the House felt, slighted. So we got our turn, and then the next day he met with the Democrats. So so we've all had our opportunity to sit down with the president. It was about an hour and 15 minutes. I thought it was reasonably productive. No, we did not solve the debt ceiling issue. No, we did not solve the deficit issue. No, we didn't settle the budget issue. But there were some ancillary things that were brought up at the meeting about specifics about dealing with permits down in the Gulf for oil exploration, for example, and a number of those types of things. And the president said he wanted to work on that. I had a chance, I'll say this, I had a chance to talk to the president for a few minutes afterwards, alone, and first with about 2 or 3 of us, and then alone, and I did two things. I told him, one, I thought we needed to do this more often. Now, again, not just because we just solved all the issues, but I believe we actually need to have a dialogue. And when it's a little tough when you're just dealing with sound bites, whether it's MSNBC or Fox News, there's context that gets lost and all that. I'm sure we all recognize that. The other thing I did is I had just gotten back from a trip to the Middle East, Kuwait, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, and our situation in Iraq is transitioning out of the Department of Defense run operation to Department of State run operation. We've got 47,000 troops there. I will tell you that our military leadership there, we spent a lot of time with the ambassador. We spent a lot of time with the 4-star general who's there, and then a couple of 3-star generals. In fact, I told, this is from General Helmick. This is a challenge coin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the challenge coin. But this is typically what somebody would carry from their company or their battalion or the brigade, whatever. And this is from General Helmick, who's the 3-star. And I told him I wouldn't be forgetting about those guys. And so I've been carrying that around every day. The Iraqis need to figure out what they would like. And this goes into somewhat Libya and Afghanistan as well. I mean, they're starting to pull out in Afghanistan. We are obviously sinking a lot of money into it, have continued to do that. We've got to figure out what we are going to do, what's going to be our footprint. We're going to have the largest embassy in the world is going to be in Baghdad. They're going to have somewhere like 8,000 or 9,000 employees there. It's a challenging environment, to say the least, when you have to travel around as the ambassador in a flak jacket and a helmet, and armored Suburbans and all that stuff. But I believe it's time we need to make sure that the Iraqis, one, have the ability, but two, that they finally do stand on their feet as well. And there's a lot of feeling that we're moving towards that. We're having sort of that same discussion with Afghanistan. We've got far more troops in Afghanistan right now. It's my hope to get there soon as well. I think that is constitutionally probably one of the most important things that I need to pay attention to is when I'm sending our men and women in harm's way. I want to know what we're doing. I want to see it, experience it myself. So hopefully you'll be hearing about a trip that I can make at somewhere. We don't have anything scheduled yet, but yeah, real quick. Yeah. This goes into the War Powers Act and into Libya here a little bit. So Libya, I voted for both John Boehner's resolution that called upon the president to deliver a report within 14 days that made clear that we would not be having any kind of ground troops there. Also in the Defense Reauthorization Act, there was language inserted by voice vote. In other words, it was non-controversial, both sides of the aisle, that passing the defense budget would not be viewed or constituted as any kind of tacit approval of our actions in Libya. And here's why that happened. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Clinton administration had gone in, did not consult Congress, but 78 days into it, Congress passed a supplemental defense bill that paid for it, but then still said, hey, we don't think we should be there. And the Clinton administration came back and said, well, we're using you passing that budget as approval. So I voted for that, and I voted for Dennis Kucinich's resolution, which, as you can imagine, wasn't real popular with some of my leadership. They didn't want to have Kucinich be sort of the front on this. I frankly didn't care because I think it was bad that we had not taken action on that prior. So, and so here it says, pursuant to Section 5C of the War Powers Resolution, Congress directs the President to remove the United States Armed Forces from Libya by not later than a date that is 15 days after the date of the adoption of this concurrent resolution. That lost 148 to 265. There was 87 of us Republicans that voted for it. The Boehner Amendment passed 268 to 147. I'm telling you, if ever there's an issue that's got people in knots in Washington, it's this one, because you see some of the most liberal people that have been opposed to having a single boot on the ground in Iraq or Afghanistan supporting the president, and you've got a number of Republicans who had voted for us going into Iraq and Afghanistan now voting against Libya and that action. My problem is that clearly the president did not adhere to the War Powers Act. Did not come to the Congress, did not consult with Congress, informed us. We had our briefing 3 days after operations were launched. That's a problem for me. Setting aside whether we should or shouldn't be there, the whole action of getting into it, I believe, was wrong on the president's part. So. That's what we're going to be dealing with. There's some discussion about whether we try to revamp the War Powers Act and a number of other things. So this isn't going to be done. It's not done, and we're going to be dealing with this. And the question of my leadership was, okay, so what happens in 14 days? This resolution passes. We'll see what the Senate does. Then what? I mean. We'll give another 14 days. Do we yell louder? What do we do? But this to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm going to keep on that. But yeah, we are dealing with that. So this meeting though with the president, it was very revealing. And the next day we had a meeting with the freshman bipartisan meeting with Secretary of the Treasury Tim Geithner. First time they've done that. As well. And what was the revealing part was the philosophical divide. And real quickly, some of you may have heard me talk about this. I've seen 4 main divides in my time in Washington. And I saw this a bit when I was in the state legislature as well, but it's on steroids out in Washington. The first divide is geographic. All right? In the Midwest, we think differently. than someone from the deep south or, you know, the southwest.